I'm still dancing. What's happening, Mr. Bare Naked Mark Whaley? I'm glad you got your clothes on today because we got a great show for you. Hey, Mark, what's happening, brother?
I'm just dancing here, Dave. It's BS Friday. I'm happy to see you. I'm happy to see everyone in the crowd. This is awesome.
It is. It is awesome. We got one of the big names in the industry, one of the most respected names in the industry on our show today, and we're going to have a lot of fun with it. We might even get a little controversial on the show. Who knows? Can we have good design and high energy at the same high passive house energy? And Mark, this is going to be a hot topic for today, I think, and I think having this individual on with all the platforms that he's on is going to open a lot of eyes to what we've been talking about for a long time. And you can have high design and low energy bills, can't you?
Absolutely. Right. Proper team, proper planning. We'll see you all next week.
That's it. That's the end of our show. Thanks for joining. And hey, listen, if you can't smell that, you got to check out our new app that Mark and I have. It's a scratch and sniff live video app that we have. And right now you're smelling the other kind of BS from Mark. We're not going anywhere.
You can smell my coffee. Dave, do you got a good coffee in front of you?
You know what? I don't. I actually have my Wick Right thermos with me right now.
Oh, it's a battle of the mugs today. Love it.
Yeah. Coffee with Dave is tomorrow morning, Mark. We're a day early on that one, but we will have our coffee mug tomorrow. But listen, everybody, we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and
the Twitter.
Twitter. That's right. We're live on Twitter now as well. So we're coming at you from all different angles. I see there's a bunch of you out there. If you are not following along with Mark Bare Naked Willie, go there and follow him right now on LinkedIn and his other platforms. And for us, if you want to watch any of these shows, past, present, and future, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's always there, ready to be watched whenever you're ready to view it. And that's what's great about YouTube. So, Mark, with that said, we got a lot of great things coming up in the future. The show's built out through the rest of the year for the most part. Mark's been doing an awesome job, but I think we need to get into this show. So with that said, Mark, let me just do my opening monologue here. For those who question or celebrate how good design begets high performance, we're glad to announce that Jake Bruton of AAROW Building High Performance Custom Home Construction is going to be on this show in just a few moments, where the roads of durable, beautiful, transformational energy performance converge. Do not hope. It is time to observe. Jake is the contributor to the BuildShowNetwork.com, co-host of the Unbuild It podcast, as well as a contributor to Fine Home Building, the Journal of Light Construction, and Pro Remodeler. As a speaker, he has presented at JLC Live, the Fine Home Building Summit, and EBA, EEBA, and I'm sure you guys are going to figure out what that is in just a moment. Mark, this is a big deal. Why don't you do your intro, and then we will bring Jake on with us.
Oh, I'm not going to wait. AAROW Buildings, Jake Bruton, come forward. We got a lot to dive into.
Oh, man, what is happening, Jake? It's great to see you. I'm going to switch you two around here. Jake, welcome to the show.
Thank you guys for having me. That was a heck of an intro. Thank you.
Yeah, hey, listen, well deserved. Hey, Mark, look how calm and relaxed he is already. He's used to this camera stuff. I can already tell he's ready just to dive in, all cool, calm, and collective like.
We're fortunate. Jake already put in his 85 hours this week, so he gets to just be present and field these questions. Welcome to BS Friday Live, Jake. Yeah. We're so happy to have you. I'm trying to figure out if there's a sticker on the chair behind you. I'm not seeing that adequately placed sticker anywhere.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
What is that one?
There.
Oh, wow.
That's the Unbuild It podcast.
Cool.
A new sticker being revealed. How about that?
The Unbuild It podcast.
50 of them, and now I don't want to give them out to people because they'll be gone if I give them all out.
You know what? That's all right. If people want them and they're going to post them, that's what it's all about, is sharing the knowledge, sharing the information,
for sure,
and having it so everybody can find us where we're at. We got a lot of great things to talk about. Mark, Jake, there's one thing I wanted to announce on the show that we're doing. We've partnered with Operation Triage. So we're building homes and remodeling homes. 100% of the proceeds will be going to, just so everybody knows, Nobody takes a salary. Nobody does any of that. But 100% of the proceeds go to the veterans. So I just wanted to announce that today. More information coming up on that. We're doing a show in San Antonio, Texas, where we're going to live stream some of this build for these veterans that really need our help out there. So
very cool.
Road trip to San Antonio. I'm down.
I'm coming out. Yeah. So there you go. Check out Operation Triage out. They're doing wonderful things. And I think, Mark, you know some of the people involved in this. And Jake, I would imagine you do as well. All right. Now it's about Jake. Jake. We want to know everything about you from the moment you were born to this very moment in time. Do not leave out any of the good stuff from the hospital, or Mrs. Willie, Mark's mother, will call your mother, and we'll have her on the show, and she'll spill all the beans, and I'm sure you do not want that, or maybe you do, but guess what? You only have 2 minutes to do it. The floor is yours. Go for it.
Well, thank you guys for having me. Let's start with the idea that if we really are going to talk about from birth to now, the company that I own, AAROW Building, was started the same month that I was born. So it is never a problem for me to say, oh yeah, the company is X years old, because it actually helps me remember how old I am, which I bet Mark could attest to. Mark's a little bit older than me. It starts to get confusing at some point as to how old you are. After that, after birth, school, I went to the University of Missouri, and I was going to be an artist. I have a degree in fine art photography. I made a living as an artist for a couple years after college and got suckered into coming back to work for the business. My parents said, hey, we got one job that we need somebody else to run. We don't have somebody that can run it. Do you mind coming back, putting the art thing on hold, coming back and running a project? I said, sure. And then as I was finishing that project, my dad was like, oh, by the way, we're retiring and we're selling the business to somebody that works for us. And I was like, well, I'm the only employee, so that must mean that you guys are going to try to sell this business to me. And that was 2007, end of 2007. If you remember 07, 08, 09, that was a fantastic time in the United States to build or to buy a construction company. It worked out great for me because I was making a living as an artist, so I knew what a meager living was at the time. And it took me a good 5 or 6 years of running the business to decide that I really did want to do this for a living. And it took me that long to figure out how to, hire and fire and, show up on time, return people's phone calls and emails and estimates on a timely manner, and become a business person. And then I decided that I needed to start figuring out what the next obstacle that I needed to learn was. And I started Googling why construction companies were being sued, and it's almost always water. So then I immediately made a change to, okay, I'm going to take durability way more serious. And from there, it just led to high performance homes, to better built homes, to a much higher level of execution across the board with everything that we do. And then in 16 or 17, probably 2017 or 2018, I had a conversation with another builder, and he was like, I haven't heard about any of this stuff that you're doing. Where are you here? And I was just like, oh, I should share the stuff that I'm doing. I should tell other people, hey, this is the way we should do it. And so that begat a whole new level of, now we're making videos once a week for the Build Show. We're hosting a podcast with Peter Yost and Steve Basic called the Unbuild It Podcast, and writing and everything. And even the first article I wrote was a bunch of stuff that Steve and I had figured out together. And I said, hey, I feel like we should write this article. And he kind of blew it off. And I said, we really should put this out there. Other people need to see it. And he was like, sure. And then 3 weeks later, I was like, here's the article. And he was like, oh, you were serious? And I was like, yeah. And it's got your name on it. I'm sending it to Clayton at JLC. And he was like, oh, okay. And I think that kicked him in the butt to go, oh, people do want to know more about the stuff that we're doing too. So.
Wow. And you know what? It's funny. The passion starts everywhere, right, Jake? Like you said, starving artist, you figured out maybe you got to make some money. And we all know that you lied. 07, 08 was not a great year to start in the construction industry. But the sheer fact that you made it through and you're still sitting with us here, that is not a lie. That's actually a feather in your cap. And I think that's amazing. And it's funny how we all come back to our roots, right, Mark? I mean, we all do. I left for the military, said, I'm not going in construction. I was doing it when I was a kid. And guess where I ended up back? Somewhere where I didn't know I loved when I was younger, but I love it today. Jake, you mentioned water, you mentioned legal suits. You're right. I mean, this is one of the main causes of problems with homes is water issues. And a lot of builders still to this day do not spend the time to figure it out all the way through. I mean, it's still a major issue of litigation and legal across the country. What was it in your world that made you make that change where you said right off the bat, I got to do this? Did you get hurt by that?
Actually, I didn't. I was very lucky that we were kind of forward thinking to begin with. I was already using Tyvek's Commercial D because I thought that I would get a little bit better drainage, but I had no idea that the problem was, 80% of construction litigation has to do with water in some form. And
Yeah.
as soon as I read that it was a paper from Michigan State or something about the construction industry, and I read it and was just like, oh, what have I done that I'm going to get sued over? And I immediately just was like, okay, I got to change the way we install windows. No more doing no overhangs unless we're doing a better. And then every little thing led to something else. I went, okay, the Tyvek only works if it's installed properly. And the challenge is I'm no longer the one wearing my bags. Maybe we could go to a simpler system. I was like, okay, but if we go to Huber Zip, then now we have an air seal that we can. And so it was little incremental, but it all adds up when it happens over the course of 5 years and you start working with better architects that are focused on the same sort of things, and you start selling yourself that way. You have to be better at it,
Yeah, for sure.
I like where that all leads, right? With that conversation from your folks saying, we just have that one project
Yep.
we just need a little help with. And that's the introduction for many folks in the trades and building environment is, hey, so-and-so needs a hand. And then the person that picks up on it the most and learns from the people around them often ends up being the GC and the builder, simply because the avenue is there if you take it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is a low barrier for entry industry that doesn't really have a ceiling.
Right.
There's not, you can't get into the medical field straight out of high school and end up being the head of the company necessarily, but you can here.
Jake, isn't the requirement to have a black pickup truck and you get a license? Isn't that essentially?
Well, if we want to talk about
white,
that,
Mark, it's a white pickup truck too.
Okay, or a white pickup truck.
Yeah, the white. Well, I have both, so that'll work. I think I think that's what 2000. That's what 08, 09 was. If you had it in my market, if you had a truck, you could get the money to give you enough money to build a spec house.
Well, and that's it.
I mean, Dave, if you had a choice between a black pickup truck or a white pickup truck, and that was your builder choice, would you choose, let's say, Patrick or Jake, the white or the black pickup truck?
Well, I have a black pickup truck, and I favor my black pickup truck, but I don't think I would judge them by their truck. I judge them by their history, their past, and what their clients say about them.
Dave, you answered correctly, because if you judge your contractor by the truck they roll in on, your relationship is about that superficial. And good night, good luck. You're stuck in it. So there's questions that create that relationship, right? That wasn't a trick question. I knew you were going to answer it that way.
I was very proud. I had a guy that worked for me for a number of years that had a bread truck. That was his work truck, but it was stainless steel. It had never been painted. It was ordered from the factory as stainless steel. And I tried forever to try to buy that from him because I thought it would just be really cool to have AAROW building on the side. And I was like, how superficial am I for wanting a stainless steel bread truck?
The only drawback to that is we had a stainless steel one, Jake. The only drawback to that is you can't put that magnet on when you go up to a job site and take it off. You actually have to have it permanently affixed. So when you're trying to be incognito, you can't be incognito.
Can't use it for bank robberies as well.
Well,
no,
it's a whole other side income. Oh, we lost Dave. Dave will be back. So, Jake, when you start a relationship or a potential for a relationship with someone, there's a whole platform that allows that to proceed, and there's a list of questions. And I don't believe many builders have that format to bring it back and forth. Can you pretend that we're sitting at that coffee table right now and I follow your Instagram and I'm like,
Sure.
I want you, Jake. I want you.
So I would say also I wrote a article in October for JLC about this same subject matter. Uh, the idea that it took me forever to realize that not every person that called our office was somebody that I needed to be my client. And it took me even longer to realize that not every person that called our office that I wanted them as a client. So those early starving days where you're like, yeah, I'll clean gutters for you, or yeah, I don't mind building that shed, or yeah, I'll replace the stairs to your mobile home. Those days, to move beyond that, you have to start saying no to the things that you don't want to do. And I think it's Steve Basic says from another builder friend of his that there are a handful of clients in life that you'd be better off giving them $500 the first time they call because you lose less money if you just pay them to go away. And that concept is difficult when you're in business because you want McDonald's, you want every client to want to work with you, but that doesn't mean they're right. So then you have to find some sort of criteria to understand whether or not they're the right client for you. And my former general manager, when he was still with us, he and I sat down and over the course of like an entire day, came up with what our criteria was for whether or not this job was right for us and how are we going to figure out in real time before we waste any time. So the first thing that we did was we decided no more going to look at jobs. We're not leaving the office until we've had a good conversation with you. And when I say good conversation, I mean I ask for a half an hour with people. It's way easier in the last year and a half because the Zoom call, people are okay with it and they understand it. It's way easier to connect through a Zoom call than it is just a regular phone call. I will say that I did lose a project one time to a competitor, and I said, "Do you mind me asking why?" And he had two reasons, but the second reason was, well, the other guy came over and sat on my deck with me for an hour, and we talked. And I thought, man, it's been like, and it was like 3 weeks into everything being locked down in spring of 2020, and I was like, well, that's on him. I was trying to do what the city told us to do, and not be, we were basically shut down. And I was like, well, we can do the Zoom call in my mind. So it could backfire, but I think if you handle yourself as a professional, you won't have issues. So I have a list of 20 questions. Do you want to pretend to be my client and answer them for me, Mark?
I would love to pretend to be your client,
Okay.
and I wish I was sitting on that deck in a non-COVID area, um, toasting what we hear. So let's go with Q1, and
Yeah.
I'll be Joe Client, and
Okay.
you be
So
Jake Bruton.
I always tell people there's 20 questions. I might not ask all 20. Chances are you'll answer a bunch of them. And if you don't understand the question, I mean, obviously don't hesitate to ask for clarifications. But my first question is there anything that I should know about you or your family or your needs before we get started? And I won't make you answer that one, Mark, but everybody will say, "Oh, I don't think so," or we absolutely have to have a golf simulator. That's our number one thing. Whatever it is, it either 100% does not come up or it is the only focus of the conversation for them at that point. But that tells me something about what they're thinking about. Sometimes it's we have a special needs kid that is in a wheelchair, the whole house needs to be wheelchair accessible. Those that letting them talk will actually guide the rest of my question asking, and that question is normally a 10% or 20% of our total conversation. Uh, why do you want to do this project?
Well, Jake, we already have 3 kids, and we live in a 2-bedroom house, and my wife and I are expecting twins. So we're
Okay.
outgrowing our current place, and we want a new place for our family.
Okay. If you follow me on Instagram, I can normally tell by that question. If you say the words high performance home, If you say we want something that's really energy efficient, I know you didn't find us through Google, and it's most likely that I don't have to have a big conversation with you about it. Number 3 is have you ever built a house before? Number 3 is a telling one, because if you say yes and it's not that long ago, you're going to tell me why you don't like living in that house anymore.
Oh, that's a setup question. Beautiful.
That
I
You're
like number
totally
3.
gonna badmouth what your other contractor did, which might be a legit badmouth. It might not. I might go, yeah, we do
Right.
that same thing. You're not gonna like working with us. What are you looking for in a contractor is normally a conversation that continues that. A lot of people will just say communication, which is an easy one for me to say. Okay, well, let's stop and talk about how we do our invoicing, how we do our proposals, what it looks like, the fact that you have access to our website. We use Builder Trend. It's linked through our website. You get a login.
Oh.
You can see every ticket, all those sorts of things. So it's like, I can tell you to the penny what it costs to build your house at the end of the project. And I can have every single document to back that up. How long have you lived in your current home? How long do you plan to stay in the next home, are the next 2 questions. Because if you've been in your current home for 20 years, you have complaints that I need to listen to. And if you're not planning on staying in your next house for more than 6 months, I'm probably not the person to build it for you. It just doesn't, that's not a good idea, in my opinion. How long have you been thinking about this project is a fantastic one as well. Because if you decided yesterday that you were going to build a house, you don't need to call me yet. You need to figure out what you want.
Yeah, I was thinking, are one of those questions a trigger for you to say, run the other way?
Yeah, a lot of it is. I can tell a lot. I mean, even just the number 1, is there anything you need me to know about you? Like, if you start by saying we're extremely demanding, we're very picky, we're gonna make sure that everything is absolutely correct. But then when we get to the next question, which is invested amount, your budget is on the absolute lowest spectrum of what's physically possible. I know that we're probably not going to be able to make you happy.
Yep.
I know that you're not going to want to spend enough money for us to be impeccable. And like it or not, sometimes we don't have a budget to be impeccable.
Right.
That's right.
We would like for them all to be, so that we have 5 weeks worth of my lead carpenter Brad or my project manager Brad and I crawling over the house right before you take it over. Like, everybody else is out of there and we're polishing things with a toothbrush. But most houses don't have that available.
Your perspective of Marshall Fields and a new Apple showroom, right? And your log cabin going tent camping budget doesn't align. So we went through about 5 questions. Dave is back. Can we pop to the audience and then do some Q&A where Dave's on the spot as the client?
Okay. I do. And when we come back, Jake, a big question that I want to know, being a previous custom home builder and still dabble here and there, is how many meetings do you give a client prior to you saying enough's enough? So you don't have to answer it now. That'll be the question when we come back, because I think a lot of people struggle with how much time do I really give to make somebody comfortable enough, and am I doing the right thing? So, all right, we're going to go to the comments, everybody. Look at this. They're lighting up. Hey, look at that. It's Mateo. What's happening? Hello, Mark and Dave. Mateo with Boxy here. Very excited to be here to hear from Jake. Well, thanks for joining us, Mateo. We love having you tune in. Travis says that's...
look at that. Travis.
That's an adequate explanation.
There's an inside conversation happening right now between Travis and Jake. So there you go. Travis, you just won a sticker of BS and Beer KC. All
right. And he had a follow-up comment, so we might as well put it there. Go ahead and read it, Mark, since you know the inside scoop.
The Midwest is better built because of Jake and his commitment to his clients, as well as his generous sharing of knowledge. Great builder, teacher, adequate friend with a PH.
That is amazing. I don't see the PH part. I'm missing that. Adequate friend, PH. Am I missing that?
You know what? My eyes have PH vision, so I can say what I want.
All right, cool. Thanks, Travis, for tuning in. We got a couple other people from Canada joining us. We got Stephen Blom, East Vancouver, joining us. We got Shannon Pendleton is joining us as well. What's happening, Shannon? Good to see you. Love it. Mateo is from Atlanta, so he said, "Go Braves." Congratulations to all the Braves fans out there if you're in the baseball world. Hey, look at this. We got Matt Belcher joining us today. Matt B, Jake Prairie, Missouri. Tell Jake M-I-Z. Do you know Matt Belcher, Jake?
I know ZOU there, Matt. That's our that's University of Missouri chant that he started there. M-I-Z-Z-O-U. Sorry, Travis. Some of us go to universities where they teach you, where they allow you to read.
And there you have it. ZOU. Love it.
Love it, love it, love it. Hey, and listen, I mentioned earlier, Operation Triage. Matt's one of the founders of that group. So, Matt, thanks for tuning in today. So, glad you jumped in. I pushed it a little bit this afternoon. What a great organization. I'm so excited. All right, keep going. I don't know if I want to put it up, but I'm kind of forced to, being that this guy's a vet and he could probably crush me with his thumb. Steve Basic in the house. What's happening, Steve? Somewhere in the foothills of Mount Everest. And he gets around. He's like, I don't know. He's like Bigfoot with a pilot's license.
His other comment is be a
Mount
tough
Everest.
client.
What climate zone is that, Steve?
What'd you say, Jake? His other what?
His other comment is be a tough client.
Be a tough client.
Yeah, he's telling Mark to beat me up.
There it is. Be a tough client. There it is. Jen found it and put it up there. So,
hey, Steven, right. I think we all know that Jake wouldn't even interview me as a prospective client. He's a little omnipresent for that.
Wow. I love it. So Travis says the client selection article and Jake's criteria are worth the read for sure. So everybody needs to check that out as well. All right, let's go back to our conversation here. If you do have a question or comment, please put them up there. And if you want to put a Q in front of it, it helps us find the questions a lot faster. Also, if you're not following Jake Bruton in AAROW Building, you need to be following Jake Bruton in AAROW Building and all the places that he is, because they are changing how people build, and they are making sure they spend the time and the effort to do it right. And as I always say, hashtag build it better, because that's what we're all about on this show, is how do we build it better? How do we build a safer, healthier environment for the consumer that's living in our homes? So, all right, Jake, the big question,
So,
how many meetings are you doing here with your clients before you get going? Because you have some demanding clients. Let's be real.
For sure. So we have this 30-minute phone call that determines whether or not it's worth meeting with you in person, going to look at your site, interviewing architects, any of those sorts of things. I can tell from this initial conversation is whether or not it's something that I want to pursue. From there, you generally get one more meeting before I'm going to tell you that you need to hire us for pre-construction services if we're going to be involved. Yeah. It's not worth wasting my time with 10 meetings, going through pricing and things like that, if it feels like there's a potential for you to walk away. If I'm going to make an investment in you with my time, then you should be making an investment with us. And we handle our pre-construction services agreement in a way where I pitch it to clients as it's a dating. We're not getting married. I'm not asking you to sign a construction contract with us. Let's figure out if this is the right house, if this is the right budget, if we're right for you over the course of a couple months. And if not, I won't offer you a construction contract. No big deal. I can walk. I can choose not to work with you the same way you can choose not to work with me.
You know, it's funny. We always have a saying, especially if it's in, no offense to engineers or architects, when we were custom building, we'd use kind of the same mentality, right? We're interviewing you as much as you're interviewing us, especially when you're reliable and you're a reputable builder. Yep. You have that ability to be able to say, no, I'm sorry, I just don't feel this is a good fit, because there's a lot of stress involved in building.
Well, and like it or not, if you tell someone that you're interviewing them, they're going to want to work with you more too. Yeah. As silly as it sounds, nobody wants to be rejected. Nobody wants to be the client that couldn't hire a builder,
Well, and it's a real thing, because the project might be a perfect fit for location and level of detail and all of the above. But if the personalities aren't clashing, why break bread with the person? Because it's a tight romance of
Yeah.
like you said, dance floor and everything in between.
Yeah.
If you can't get through pre-construction services in the design process and still be excited to work with the person, guess what? Spending 2 years building a house for them is going to be a nightmare. It's going to be
It
hell.
is.
I have a builder friend that I was talking with him probably 6 months ago, and he was saying, like, man, these clients are horrible. These clients are demanding the world, and they don't want to spend the money, and they're jerking us around, and I'm really pissed off about this, and I don't think that I want to work with these clients. And I was like, we should stop right there. I don't think you want to work with these clients either. Like, you've just explained to me
Right.
how you don't want to work with these clients. Why are you continuing to work with these clients? So he didn't listen. They're working for those clients right now, but he didn't listen.
Well, sometimes we're thinking with our wallet and versus our brains, and that's a
Sure.
lot of things that get us in trouble in this world a little bit. I want to bring this conversation back to building science. You made the switch to say, hey, I'm going to build it better. I'm going to use these products. I'm going to take increment steps to making it better. All right. So that's in your mind, Jake, as the owner of the company. How did you get the buy-in from your trades, from your subs, from the house wrap specialists, air barrier specialists, whatever you call them? How do you get their buy-in to make this successful for you? Because you're not on site 24/7.
Yeah, sure. So when we started making the transition, we were doing almost all of it in house. So that was simple. I said, this is the way we're going to do it. We're going to do it this way until we figure it out. The first couple houses that we did like this, we either built in house or we built in house with subcontractor help, but the subs are guys that used to work for me.
Right.
Like our framer, I taught how to read a tape measure. So like he has a full yeah, whatever you want to do, we can do it that way. Like he believes in our efforts. He knows what we can do, and he's bought in from the beginning. Our other subcontractors, it hasn't been A to B equals C. It's it's been a circuitous route of getting there to people that we know we can trust.
Yeah.
We still, I think the last 5 houses we built had different electricians on almost every project, because we're looking for people that are willing to do the things that we're asking them to do. It's difficult, but we set forward a scope of work that gets created in that pre-construction services agreement. So the electrician has, the electrical plan, the allowances sheet, and a scope of work that says what they're supposed to do. And then we're there helping, going, hey, well, if we move that light, this is what's going to happen, and we have to do this, or the ceiling is getting drywalled before interior partition, so we have to have all these liars coming through in the exact right spot. Like, you have to slow down and take your time here. Remember, you put this in your bid that you were going to do this. Like, there's a lot of hand holding and fixing stuff. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah, those are real expectations, and finding that right crew to hit that measure sometimes is a exercise in chasing endurance.
Sure.
Yeah. And you've been able to find 5 electricians for 5 different projects. Well, kudos just for that. I mean, that have time to help you if they're any good.
Yeah, it can be a challenge, but I mean, like, our office, I'm sitting in my office, is attached to my house. The siding on the back half of our house was installed by a crew, and then they left because they couldn't. They left, not they got fired. They left and wouldn't come back because they couldn't perform to the standards that we're asking. And we realized that it was just like, well, Brad and Jacob Norris and I'll do it ourselves. And so we just stopped and did it ourselves, So sometimes it is that. Sometimes it's my crew knows what the expectation is. We have the ability to execute at a high level. Let's just do it ourselves. Let's screw chasing subcontractors around today. Let's just fix it.
Yeah, I like one of your philosophies that really backs that up and echoes it. Is first you're finding that contractor and you're vetting the contractor, but then you have a phase of doing mock-ups and verifications of their work. That might be a perfect segue to to share why that's instated and the level of success as a result.
Yeah, so the project that we're wrapping right now, our Hilltop project, we decided that we built a full-size mock-up of what we were doing, as in we built the garage first and we ran all the subs through there before we let them touch the house. They're separate structures. They're 50 yards apart from each other or 20 yards apart from each other. And it was a real easy thing to go, okay, we haven't worked with you before as a framer. We had to bring in a new guy because of scheduling. Here's what it's supposed to look like. I'm going to build the first wall with your 6 guys that are on site. And it's going to take all morning to build one 20-foot long wall because we're going to have so many conversations. And then I'm going to stand here and just be an extra set of hands, be here to help, lift the wall for the second wall. And then the third wall, I'm going to stand by my truck and pretend like I'm on the phone and we're going to watch. And then I did the same thing with the electricians, and we did the same thing with the siding guys. Everybody started all of their work on that project on our full-size mock-up. Now, when we don't have the ability to do it like that, we have built several full-size, 8-foot tall, put a window in it walls over the last 5 years with subs. And we even have one that we keep at the shop that I actually think we threw away this week because it was getting kind of ragged. But that we keep so that we can talk about it. We also have a meeting space in our office where before a project begins, I can bring subs in either as a group or one by one and talk to them about it and go, hey, what's the problem for you on this one? What are you pissed off about? What do we need to change? Who do you need to, what out of order from the way we normally do things needs to happen for you to be able to succeed here? Do you really have to have the electrician here for you to be able to get, those sorts of things? And that communication and treating them like you're equal goes a long way, rather than just like, hey, the lumber package is getting dropped tomorrow. I need my electrician in there 2 weeks from
now. The client and the contractor has segued from that level to the contractor and the subcontractor, right? Because that's what's needed to meet those expectations. Dave, I know you got something right on the edge of your tongue. I could read it.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I'm laughing at some of the comments that I'm trying to keep up with what's happening on the sidebar chats here. But the conversation, and like you said, Jake and Mark, what people have to understand, at least from my past and experiences, it's a collaboration. It's a partnership when you bring trades in. There's always give and take. There's always conversation that has to happen. How much pre-planning do you actually do with all of your trades prior to them coming on a job? You have a new trade, that's great. You say, all right, here's a set of plans, give me a price, but in your instance, because I know how meticulous you are, and you don't want wires just running in a spaghetti way across somebody's, basement and house. How do you tackle that? And how important is that upfront planning process?
It is a very important conversation. I'll give you a good example of the electrician that we used at our Hilltop project that we're wrapping. We brought him to this building while he was working on his bid, and I said, "This is what I'm expecting." And we were in the late stages, about ready for drywall, so you could still see all of the electrical. And I was like, "This is what we're expecting. We're expecting 1 hole per wire. We're expecting it to look really clean." And the electrician said, we can do this. I'm glad you showed me this, because this is not the level of work that we normally do. This is a lot more attention to detail. It looks really clean." And we had like a 30-minute conversation about what we did here and what we needed to happen. And he said, why aren't you having the guys that wired this house wire the new one? And I said, well, because Brad and I, my project manager, and I wired this house because it's my house. I was able to do it. And he was like, oh, okay. Well, that's why it looks so clean, because it wasn't just a regular. And I was like, no. All electrical work should look like this, you butthead. Like, it looks clean because the people that were here cared about it.
Right. That's
why it looks clean, And so having the ability to point at something, or to go, hey, this is the same as we did at the last job. I need you to be at the same level as the last job. And we're going through that right now with another subcontractor. No, that's fine. That meets the guidelines for the industry. And I'm going, you cannot hide behind what the guideline for the industry is. We have a 10-year relationship. Shut up. You know what we expect. And you know that this is not what we expect. And actually, after arguing with him for nearly a week, he sent me a text message over the weekend apologizing and saying that he thought I was right. And I was like, well, I'm sticking to my guns on this one. You guys didn't execute something the way you should have.
Yeah,
so it doesn't always go right. I'm going to end up tearing something out and fixing it myself because it doesn't always go right,
But the
They're
code
nice
is minimum.
commitment.
That's to me, it's a poor argument to argue code. It's the bare minimum. It's the bottom
I agree.
requirement that one has to do. But I get it too. You never know where people are at in their lives either. There's financial hardships. Another job went south. You never know, right?
Mhm.
And fixing stuff and changing things can cause financial hardship on a trade every once in a while. And I think that's why having that relationship is so important. So you can have that battle royale every once in a while and say, all right, well, hey, maybe on this one you lose a little bit, but I'll help you make it up on the next one. I mean, there's that give and take, and it's that growing together and helping each other that builds all the success.
For sure. I agree completely. And that give and take with, let me get you through this, or, our electricians on the Hilltop project knew from like the third day in, because they were getting mechanicals up the hill, that we were going to be over budget. So Brad and I laid out all the lights and all the outlets and switches for the entire house. Every single bit of it. Like, we saved them 2 days worth of walking around with the tape measure. And it's like, somebody still had to do it, and it still cost the client some, but it helped them remain closer to budget. And now they know that when they have to come back and fiddle with the heater on the exterior of the porch, that they're not going to throw a fit over it.
That's right.
Or I have a leg to stand on when I say, quit complaining. I laid out the lights for you. Don't complain at me.
That's the part I like, Jake, because when you're interviewing your client to make sure that this is a good fit, that other part is the story that I think people enjoy hearing. And that's your commitment to the success of the project. You're in tune with the scope you provided your contractor. They bid on it. They want to deliver it, but you're already sensing that certain things are beyond what they're going to be able to achieve. And what you and Brad do as the commitment to the project, as the commitment to your relationship, is twofold. Because being in the middle, you're making that bridge to the client, but you're making that bridge to the contractor. And that's what allows the picking and choosing of the right project with the right people involved, so that this level of success can be repeatable again and again. Much respect.
Yeah.
I also don't give Brad enough credit. My project manager's only been with me for a couple years, but he has upped our game. He cares as much as I do. There's times when I call him and it's his day off, and I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm loading up tools at this job. And I'm like, it's your day off. I didn't even know that you'd clocked in. He's like, well, I knew if I didn't get this done, then they couldn't get in next week to do this other thing. Like, he cares, and his level of execution is pretty impeccable. So he's also working, so he's not going to see this.
Yeah, well, he's a great teammate. He's actually tuned into Instagram right now, having his coffee, heckling Stephen Basic, so we're good. He's trying to win that unbilled sticker, so he's trying to give more comments than anyone else.
That's right.
Maybe that's why he's such an impeccable employee too, Mark, is because he doesn't spend any time on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram. He doesn't care about what the internet. He doesn't even know. I'll say, "Oh, you didn't see that I posted that?" And he'll go, "Do you not remember that I don't have Instagram?" Oh yeah, forget.
He's a long lost cousin of Peter Yost. That's a beautiful thing.
Exactly.
That speaks to the teammates you attract, right? He wants to be on the top of his game, and together you guys keep raising that bar in your area and passing it forward. Dave, do we have a tough question? Has anyone tried to stump Jake Bruton? And
let me just there's a bunch of stuff. Let me go through some of these. And Jake, when we get done with these questions, I want to end this conversation with two things. One is, you said you're using Builder Trend. That builds your portfolio of pictures and everything on all of your projects, your past projects. I want to know how you use that. Do you just use it with the consumer, or are your trades bought into that technology? And then I think we're going to go a little over today, as much as
That's
I
okay.
say, well, we're going to stay on time, but there's too much good here.
Yeah.
So the reason that we use Builder Trend from a project management standpoint is, number one, our daily log process. Our project managers can make daily notes as to what's happening on the project. But number two, their budgeting software is better than QuickBooks when it comes to easily exporting budget reviews and tracking everything. It does mean that I have to keep records on my computer because we have to keep it outside of Buildertrend in case Buildertrend ever has a problem, in our opinion. But I can one-click a budget review, and I have one client over the 5 years that we've been using it that actually does log in and look at stuff. Everybody else, they get sold that they're able to do it, and then
Right.
they log in once, and then they never log in again.
And that's it.
But we have a client right now that I know logs in weekly and checks in on things. So it's up to date. It's easy for the client to see it, and it's our time clock as well.
Yeah. Well, I think the technology is so valuable, not only for the consumer, so you have a regular way of communicating or updating the day without having to call 2 or 3 customers every day. It's just a quick way to do it. And I'm a big fan of Buildertrend by all means. All right, we're going to hit a couple of comments here real quick. We got Sean saying more, and we'll work our way down. Go ahead, Mark. He's a longtime friend and fellow podcaster, and he's one of those guys that I think smarter than me, and that's not hard to be.
So here we go, all the way from British Columbia. Sean says, I always appreciate Jake's candor, especially his comments on the Unbuilded podcast. Keep up the great stuff, Jake. Our industry is better with you in it. Boom. Sean, you win the Unbuilded sticker. Well done.
Yep, there's only 5 of them left, so we got 4 to go. Just send your address to Jake. He'll send it right out to you, Sean. All right. We got Travis Brungard talking a little more. You guys are excellent. I never get to join on these, but happen to be driving. Keep up the good work and terrible spelling. Missouri, no Z's at my universities. You should have put university.
Travis, great for you to join us on a Friday. I figured you slept in today and forgot to go to the job. So, Joe, if you're out there, you're just like Brad. You're out there kicking butt.
Hey, listen, Mark, we got a T-Stud plug coming up here. Kevin Schaefer in the house. He says, I'm in the Detroit airport heading back home to Virginia after a big week with T-Stud, Brian Iverson. And just so anybody knows that's new to the channel or you're a consumer, Brian Iverson isn't a stud. We're talking about a product that he makes called the T-Stud. No offense, Brian. I just want to make sure we were clear on that for the consumer out there.
Kevin Schaefer was just in the Midwest Building Science Symposium where Jake presented and Travis and Joe put that on. So, yes, Kevin. In fact, divorces both divide houses and create them. So absolutely, brother. True statement.
The other bad one besides the divorce is, we decided to get pregnant while we're building a house.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let's deal with the newborn while trying to build or remodel.
We talked about that. I always said, if everyone's looking to have more kids, just hire me as their contractor. Your success rate goes through the roof.
Yeah, Mateo says they have a hard time trying to find contractors. It's very true. The industry itself says he's very passionate about supporting groups that train and encourage skilled labor. And I know all of us on here are the same way.
Absolutely. It all starts by trying, right? Apprenticeship, as they say, is an obligation.
It is. It is. Melissa Payne, take this one, Mark.
All right. Miss Melissa says, pre-construction meetings are critical to make sure that water infiltration risks are reduced. High performance in residential can benefit from these meetings. And Melissa, to add on to that and echo it, it's not just the meetings, but it's the materials and the sequencing and the mock-ups, because you can have great meetings and great suppliers, and you can have crap all craftsmanship or lack of sequencing to achieve it. And we haven't seen footage of Jake's latest house, but the sequencing and the craftsmanship allowed those details to be verified and work. So there's many strings to that great statement, Melissa.
And the conversation about responsibility.
Right.
Whose scope of work does this fall under?
Someone's job, right? Who's making that hole, and then who's patching that hole? Because it will happen.
Do they know that they're in charge of patching that hole?
Well,
yep.
Yeah, I
Love
mean,
it, right?
where does your job begin and my job end, and then who's cleaning up the mess that sits underneath the hole?
You got an air barrier, Dave, and then the mechanical and electrician company comes to make it all together. Who's
Yeah.
responsible? That
Have I
depends.
told you lately, Mark, that I'm an air barrier specialist, that I am trained?
You are an air sealing specialist. You're an air boss.
Love it.
Absolutely. ATN and his group trained you. Love that. George Ryman. It's
Yeah.
sunny in Arizona. Peter Yost
Does
is
not
not on
exist. Come
Instagram or
on.
LinkedIn, but he's
Come
on
That's
the
a
on.
Untitled
read the
podcast.
hashtags on the
So
podcast.
let's hop down here. I know Mateo has a question, but I'm gonna get some people we haven't mentioned yet. Scott Farman in the house. He has a question, Jake. What is your additional cost for going passive house on your developments? Some teams are demonstrating only 3% addition right now.
So I would say we have not built a passive house. We don't build passive houses. If somebody asked for that, obviously maybe we could. We build stuff that is basically a passive house without the plaque, and I wouldn't know how to say what the additional cost is, because we want clean air, we want houses that are durable, we want houses that are energy efficient. My personal house, if I had to have somebody else build it for me, was not any more expensive than anything else we've built per square foot. It's just about making the right choices for something that's going to be healthy and comfortable. Right. And so we don't ever compare like this is what we added to this job. So I honestly wouldn't know how to answer it.
I have a simple answer. Scott has great questions. And what I always say is if a passive house has a different level of insulation, so let's just take a code build house as an R20, and then let's say a passive house is an R40. Does someone believe that 100% more insulation should cost 3% more? I would like to see that math. And then a code build house that doesn't have the air barrier requirements that a passive house does is the application of that product, meaning the labor and the quality of that labor, let alone the material, is that of a value higher than 3%. So I always say it's not a price to price. It's the budget that they have, and where are you placing the budget? Is it on the envelope, or is it on your mechanical equipment that in 15 years you got to replace? Think about it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we're going to get a couple more questions in here. Mateo, I know you got some questions. I'm going to come back to yours for sure at the end. And then Jake, as a wrap-up conversation, I really want to know, because it has helped me and my career doing this, and I know it's helped Mark in his career and what he does. How important has doing videos, social media, talking about the good, the bad, and the problems? So I want to get into that, because we always encourage people out there, let's share the knowledge. Go ahead and put it out there. Let's talk about it. That's the only way you learn. But you also build relationship with the consumer before you even meet them, because they feel like they get to know you. So I want your opinion on that. And I want to hear it from your words, because from our words, we say it all the time, but not now. That's at the end of the show. We give it. That's the cliffhanger, everybody. So stick around. If you want to be busy and you want to sell more homes, Jake Bruton's going to tell you the secrets outside of just being really damn good at what you do. All right, here we go. We got a couple. We got Steve Basic wants to know, Jake, if you could change one thing in the building industry, what would it be?
The cost per square foot conversation.
Amen.
It should be a conversation about what the house costs for the features that you're putting into it, nothing else. I had a client the other day send me a set of plans and say, we have X. And I said, you can't build it for that, not with the stuff that you're talking about. And he said, well, we looked at another builder's website. And I said, I'm going to stop you right there. Nobody else in our market that's willing to build your house does what we do. So it doesn't matter what their pricing is. Their pricing does not affect my pricing. What you put into the house affects my pricing. That's it.
Right. It's kind of like asking how much is a bag of groceries. I guess it depends if it's full of toilet paper or is it full of T-bones, you know?
You can have a really nice white cladding and black accent that's never had a blower door, and good luck looking at your photo album when you're wrapped in blankets in November.
That's right. All right, Mateo, this is a great question here. Any recommendation for a younger person trying to get into construction? Which client should I be looking for?
You should be
Wow.
looking for a client that is interested in what you have to offer and values what you bring to the table. So you have to decide what value you bring to the table and sell to that client, because you need people that you're going to be able to make happy.
Well,
Don't take on a client that you're worried you're not going to be able to make happy. That's the best piece of advice.
Mateo,
yeah.
you're going to live long and prosper with that statement. Right on, Jake.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you, Jake. I mean, what are your core values? Like what do you believe in? What does your team believe in? And that's kind of what you're selling, right? You're selling the people that are going to build the product, and what level of product and what level do you want to play at, right? And I think that's what excites you. Well said. All right, and then Mateo had one other follow-up question here. Is that right? Yep, that's Scott. Sorry. Go up here. What is the best way to bring these techniques that are used on high-end custom homes and bring it to a starter houses and lower the price points?
Yeah, so I would say that our price point is fairly competitive with starter homes, but the best way to bring it into starter homes or smaller homes is education. Because once you are a client and you understand what you're missing out on, or you understand what you stand to gain by having one of these houses, you'll realign your square footage goals or countertop goals in order to have higher comfort or to have lower energy efficiency or lower energy bills. I have a house that we finished in 2020 that's 1,600 square foot, maybe, rental. The people own the property. There are a bunch of other properties right next to it that they've owned since the 40s, and they are planning on generations of ownership of the property, and they see the value in the durability and energy efficiency that we bring to the table.
Awesome. Awesome.
If somebody's hiring us to build rental properties, it has nothing to do with how much it costs per square foot. It has to do with whether or not your goals align with ours.
Perfect.
Armando Cabo says, don't skimp on good set of plans. Everything in construction starts with a complete and fully detailed set. That's right. The digital twin we like to talk about a lot here. Speaking of plans, are you guys using any digital twins, Jake, when you're building? Are you using BIM?
Nope.
Are you using regular CAD, Revit, hand drawing?
Everything comes to us as a drawing that then we print and we stare at, and then we go, oh, okay, there we go.
Yeah. Perfect.
I will say though, Jake, what you guys do with the drawing is you add to that a full scope of work. And then on site, Dave, everything is meticulously noted so that when that contractor comes in, there's not an up to speed process. There's this is what's so, and now that. It's a handoff. If there was ever a relay, the relay that AAROW Building does between trades and in and out is there. It's always better the next day you walk into that job site.
Yeah.
Well, and there's nothing more satisfying than when your plumber calls you at 2:00 and has a question, and you can go, did you look in the scope of work?
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, let me call you back. And then he doesn't call you back, and you get there the next morning and it's taken care of. Like, dude, I gave it to you to bid the process. When you got here the first day, I showed you where your papers were in the file folder. Don't call me until you've looked at that. If I happen to not be there that day, you still have the answer.
Perfect.
Steve Basic, last question of the day, and then we're going to get into how powerful social media and video has been for Jake and what he does. Jake, if the is one thing you could do better, what would it be?
I think that we still lack a little bit on client communication. I think that we could be a little bit better, and I think if we could convince our clients to use the builder trend functions, that they might be better informed. But it still is on us to make sure that they know everything as quick as possible. We do a budget review every 2 weeks, and sometimes that doesn't seem like it's enough. So education of the clients is still on our list for getting better. We have a big picture items list in our office, and that's one of the ones that I'm interested in exploring further right now.
Fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Social media. You, Steve Basics on here, Mark, myself, stuff that we started doing long time ago. How powerful of a sales tool and a knowledge base has it been for you doing all this social media and really putting yourself out there? People can pick you apart too if they want.
Yeah. So number one, if you have to teach it to somebody else, you have to understand it better. So every time I go, oh, I should post about this, and then I take a picture of it, and then I start to write it up, and I go, oh, I didn't understand it fully. Maybe I shouldn't post that one yet. Maybe I should understand that one before I post it.
Right.
Or if I'm going to make a 10-minute talking video about something, most of our build show videos are one take, and that means the 20-minute drive to the job site, I spent the 20 minutes thinking about it. And that means, while I was washing my hands and brushing my teeth that morning, I was thinking about it. So I gain a better understanding of all these things in order to be able to tell them to people when I thought I already had a good understanding. Second, I think you mentioned it before, Dave. People feel like they have a rapport and they feel like they have a better introduction as to who you are. I don't have to spend as much time on some sort of sales pitch to try to convince you that I know what I'm talking about. I've already put enough content out that if you spent 30 minutes looking, chances are you feel like I'm an expert. Whether or not I am, I don't make that claim. But if you put yourself out there in a way and you position yourself as the expert, in the minds of the novice, you are the expert. And the best thing that can happen for you is somebody to call you because they think you're right for the project.
Well, I think
that's right. We're all trying not to get eliminated. That's the goal. Most people are shopping us online first. They're going to the computers. They're trying to find reviews. So the who has the content out there, especially the video content, really starts garnering the attention of the people. Because I don't know if you find it the same way, Mark, Jake, but we're kind of a destination. People want us when they want us, and then when they're done, they're done. They go about their lives. We're not Disneyland where people are, or a restaurant where they just want to show up every week. They decide, hey, I want to build something. They start researching. You need to make yourself there, Where are you? How do I find you? And then how can I put myself out there better than the next person? And, I found that to be so incredibly impactful.
So, Dave,
Sure.
Jake also gave a humble statement there, and I think it's worth noting one of the projects that he's really laid out quite a bit recently is the Hilltop AAROW project. And Jake, that client in fact came from your education online, and because this is a detail oriented client that had certain attributes that were important to them, and they turned around and selected you to interview because of what you put out in terms of what you value and your quality, right?
Yeah.
Yep. They found us online. They followed us online for a period of time before coming to us to build a house. And it's the perfect example of, like, if you don't think that it's worth it to do, and they found us through Instagram. So Instagram is 15 minutes a day for me.
Yeah.
If you don't think you can spend 15 minutes a day on marketing that garners you a really spectacular house like that, then you're not paying attention.
It's great.
15 minutes, all it takes every day.
Yep.
There you go. Then I hope a year from now, we have a slew of people that have put in 15 minutes a day and have tagged Jake and have tagged AAROW Building on every one of those 15 minutes. So then Jake could spend more than 15 minutes liking what you tagged.
That's right. That's right. Well, cool. Jake, man, we really appreciate having you on today. Mark, is there anything that we want to touch base on before we wrap up another episode? What episode number is this anyhow?
We're around 80 episodes. I stopped counting when it reached double digits because it hurt my head. But, what can we look forward to? So there's an Unbuild It coming out. There's a build show coming out, and Jake can give you more links to that in case you haven't found them. And next week, we're going to talk about healthy environments and the impact of both the people and what that space does. That's going to be delivered by Juanita Garcia of Pepper Construction. She's she's a joy to learn from. She's going to be passing it forward. So that's my note to everyone to register for next Friday for her conversation on that. And then, Jake, is there a special day that people should look for your videos that launch on?
Sure. Build Show Network is every Thursday, and the podcast is every Thursday on YouTube. And if you just want the audio version of the podcast, it's the first and third Thursday of the month on any of your platforms that you normally listen to podcasts.
Awesome.
Outstanding.
Dave, Saturday, you got some announcements for us?
Yeah. Well, we'll be doing our coffee with Dave tomorrow, so tune in so you can find out what's happening and where we're headed. We look like we're heading to Minneapolis in a week, so we'll be heading up to Minneapolis to do some live shows up there as well as some pre-recorded stuff. And if you missed it, I was actually in Baltimore, Maryland at Mod Logic, 100,000 square foot modular hospital set. So stay tuned for that filming and video. That stuff is coming out. We were live yesterday on Wednesday. We were live on location there. And that's incredible. An elementary school. So 175 modules, Mark, 175. Beautiful, beautiful thing. So join us tomorrow morning. We're going to talk all about it on Coffee with Dave, 9 a.m. Eastern time. Jake, thank you so much for tuning in. Please follow Jake on Instagram and everywhere else he is. And Mark, as always, does an outstanding job, always bringing in the best speakers. So hopefully we're bringing value to you every single day. And I always ask, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are trying to grow it. It helps us a ton to know where we're headed and what we're doing. And as always, please like and share. All right, everybody. Mark, Jake, don't go anywhere. We'll come right back to you after the outro. Everybody else, have a wonderful afternoon. Enjoy your family tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Thanks, Jake.
Thank you, guys.